For Facebook ads, should you use automatic placements or manual placements? Studying around $1 million of my own data, I have actually found that automatic placements perform better, but there are a few exceptions and you definitely want to set it up the right way. So how much better have automatic placements performed? On average, across my ad account, they have generated 16.7% more revenue, which may not sound like a lot, but it's actually very significant, especially depending on profit margin. So let's say in order to break even, you need to be at a 2 times return on ad spend, meaning if you spend $1,000, you generate $2,000 in purchases. So let's say you run your campaign and you do manual placement. So you spend $1,000 and end up with $1,950. Let's say you run it again, this time with automatic placements, and it does 16.7% better. You will spend $1,000 and end up with $2,275. So you actually went from losing $50 to being $275 in profit. So that 16.7% can be pretty significant. I have tried choosing all sorts of manual placements and I have not really been able to beat automatic placements. In your Facebook ad accounts, you can actually see which placements are performing the best by going to breakdown, then by delivery, and then placements and device. And right there, you can actually see, hey, stories for iPhone are performing the best. However, this doesn't mean that you should only target stories for iPhone going forward. Facebook is insanely good at finding the right person, the right ad, and the right placement. And logically, it does kind of make sense that you could look through your data and be like, hey, 18 to 25-year-olds are the most profitable. Women are the most profitable. iPhone users are the most profitable. And people using stories are the most profitable. So let's show our next ad campaign to 18 to 25-year-old women who watch stories on their iPhone. And every time I have done this, the results have really tanked. It performs much better, having a much broader audiences, so it kind of has its pick of the people and the placement. Are there times when you should choose manual placement versus auto placement? I have tested a bunch of manual placements and auto placement has always been more profitable, but there are some times when it makes sense to only show things to people on their phone or their desktop. For example, if you're trying to get people to download an app, you would really only want to show ads to people on their phone. So under placements, you go to manual and then uncheck desktop. I have found it still performs better, giving all the potential placements for, let's say, phone. It's less common that you'd only want to show it on desktop, but let's say you have like a really long online application or your website just doesn't really translate very well to mobile, or if you don't have a mobile version ready, you should work on that, but maybe start running ads just to the desktop version. Here's a couple tips on making your automatic placements as profitable as possible. Just because you're running to all the different placements doesn't mean you shouldn't track and understand which placements are performing best. So if your story ads are the most profitable, this does not mean that you should only run to the story placement, but it does mean when you're planning out all of your ads, you should make sure it works incredibly well in the story format, that it's custom designed for that size, usually with stories like something really punchy and 15 to 20 seconds works incredibly well, maybe even custom like headlines or designs or things like that for that placement. Facebook will divert the most spend into the placements that are doing the very best. So if your stories are crushing it, most of your spend will be for the story placement. However, if you're spending a lot of time, energy, and resources creating versions for your stories, but you're still finding that almost all your profitability comes from the feed ad, you could really think about putting a little bit more of your time into ads that just work incredibly well for the feed and spend a little time but not as much into converting it to something that works well in the story format. That's why it's so important, even with automatic placements, to know which placements are doing the best. Here's the best way to set up the automatic placements to make them the most profitable. Once you choose automatic placements, the fastest way to set things up is go under ad setup to create ad, single image and video. And then under add media, you can then add an image or add a video. You can select one that's already been uploaded or add a new one. Once you choose your photo or video, it will let you set up the square, vertical, and horizontal version. So it's really best if you can design custom images and videos for each of these. So let's say we want to change out the story version. We can just go to change and then upload our story version of that. One thing to note is for the feed, you have all the headline and description and things like that. On the story, if you do an image or a video that is in that vertical format, it doesn't show additional text. It's got your little picture and text at the very top and then a button at the bottom. So you want to make sure that it's not covering up anything super important and that it all plays well and looks good. If you have a photo of your product and you wanted to do a good story version, you could do that vertical photo, but you need to add the text directly to that image, or you could just do a square photo and then it would have a portion of your primary text below that. If you're doing video, you will want to go to those three main ones, the feed, story, search results, and click edit group. And you can actually set a custom thumbnail for the group. I do think it's definitely worth actually taking the time to spend a couple minutes to go through each placement and make sure it looks really good, that it shows up well. Definitely look at the stories on their own and see what they look like. For a couple placements, it may show up with a little red dash. For example, if you have a photo for in-stream video, it'll say this can't be used for that exact placement. This is totally fine. You can just leave it like that. Once those placements look amazing, you're ready to run profitable auto placement campaigns.